Hafaday and welcome to the Guam Congress Building. The Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture is now called to order. Today's Tuesday, November 26, 2024. The time is about 2:08 p.m. I'm Speaker Therese Terlaje. I'm the chairperson of this committee. I'm joined today by the Vice Chair, Senator Joanne Brown. In compliance with the open government law, notice for this public hearing was published in the Guam Daily Post and on the Government of Guam Public Notice portal on Tuesday, November 19 and Friday, November 22. Notice was also sent by email to senators and all main media broadcasting outlets. And this hearing is being live streamed on the Guam Legislature's YouTube channel. I ask that individuals testifying please identify yourself by names because this hearing will be transcribed so that we can attribute your comments to the correct person. All right, so there are two agenda items for this afternoon. Bill 379-37, COR, introduced by myself, Therese M. Terlaje. It's an act to authorize the Chamorro Land Trust Commission and the Department of Land Management to realign the Bull Cart Trail from the north portion of Lot 2019 REM through the north portion of Lot 2021-2-R1 and to allow the owners to consolidate their lots for seamless development. There's also Bill number 381-37 COR, introduced by myself, Therese M. Terlaje. It's an act to authorize the Department of Land Management or the Chamorro Land Trust Commission to exchange 1,575 square meters of an existing bull cart trail through lots 5045, 5051B, and 5046B, Municipality of Tamuning, formerly Municipality of DEDEDO, for approximately 15,661 square meters of 60-foot wide public easement through consolidated lots 5045, 5051B, and 5046B, Municipality of Tamuning, formerly Municipality of DEDEDO. There was a third item, Bill number 380, but that was removed at the request of the sponsor, so that's no longer on our agenda today. I'd like to again thank my colleague, Senator Brown, for being here today at the hearing. And so we'll begin. On Bill number 379, it's introduced by myself, and as sponsor, I'll just give a very brief introduction of it. But as this background, the bull cart trails on Guam, of course, they hold significant historical and cultural value. They reflect our island's agricultural heritage, traditional transportation methods, and were primarily used in the past for transporting goods and materials using ox-drawn carts or carabaos, and they served as essential pathways for farmers and workers to move produce, building materials, and other necessities across the island. They connected rural areas to markets and facilitated trade within the community. Previous legislatures in passing legislation have determined that the government of Guam has a number of land remnants that are substandard in size and as a consequence would not be suitable to build on. Additionally, there exist numerous stretches of bull cart trails which no longer serve the transportation function they were originally intended for because they've been replaced by alternate road corridors that have been subsequently constructed, and in many cases, these bull cart trails are now landlocked. Since then, many original bull cart trails have been repurposed, paved over, or integrated into Guam's contemporary infrastructure. Some trails remain as unpaved paths and need to be considered in development projects, environmental preservation efforts, or realignment to support existing and future land use. Very often, the government of Guam must address its realignment, land exchange, or consolidation of the trails to enable development, create public easements, as well as the need for developing on existing private properties with which these bull cart trails run through. Landowners who would like to subdivide or construct their property sometimes have difficulty with clearances, permitting, and financing because of the trails that run through their lots. So Bill 379 proposes to authorize the Department of Land Management to relocate the bull cart trail from the north portion of Lot 2019 REM to the north portion of Lot 2021-2-R/1. This would allow for continued access to the beach. the beachfront. So both the original and the new boat cart trail would lead to the beachfront. For this case, the Chamorro Land Trust Commission in Resolution 2023-01 acknowledged its support of the relocation of the boat cart as delineated on map number 069 FY 2019. The CLT based its decision on the Guam Land Use Commission's approval of requests from the owners to realign the boat cart trail straight from the north portion of Lot 2019 REM through the north portion of Lot 2021-2-R1. And to allow the owners of the lots to consolidate. The computed area of the original boat cart trail is noted as 270.17 square meters, and the new computed area of the new boat cart trail, if approved, would be 300 square meters. A net gain of almost 30 square meters to be severed and declared as a public access and utilities rights of way. The Committee on Land also notes that the map 069 FY 2019 was presented to the CLTC board on March 24, 2024 for concurrence of condition number 2 on the recorded notice of action, instrument number 955550. Issued by the GLUC, which reads, and I'm quoting, 2, that the Chamorro Land Trust acknowledges on the proposed survey map the relocation of the boat cart trail, unquote. In terms of the land use benefits, according to CLTC, this lot configuration provides the owners of the lots the ability for seamless developments by consolidating both lots. And the benefit to the government of Guam is a net gain of almost 30 square meters declared as a public access and utilities rights of way. So the bill, although the CLT has already approved this exchange, the bill would allow or ensure that the CLTC is legally signing the map that has been prepared. So if we could just put the map up real quick so everybody could follow along. There's a little red circle kind of in the middle of this page. That red circle says beach, beach area. So that's the beach area, the beachfront. And so as you can see, I highlighted the yellow. That's the existing boat cart trail. It comes up further, but that's the part. And if we move, this is the current boat cart trail. If we could go to the next slide. This is the proposed. So you see that end of the boat cart trail there will now go straight, connect to the existing boat cart trail, and to the beach as well. So the difference in these areas is about 30 square meters. Right, next slide I think just shows both of them at the same time. All right. That's it for the intro, and we'll now accept testimony. So anyone who signed up to testify, let's see. David Tidinko and Sensio Tan V. You're welcome. Mr. Tidinko, you're recognized.
Hafaday, Madam Speaker, Senator Brown, members of the committee, happy Thanksgiving, coming to the end of the year. For the record, my name is Dave Tidinko, and I appreciate the opportunity to testify in support of the passage of Bill number 379-37. I've been working with Sensio and his wife Noriko Tan V, along with Guam Resorts Inc., and having the properties noted to be realigned and to navigate the approval process through the oversight agencies. The realignment of property boundaries allows, again, as the speaker mentioned, property owners to consolidate their lots to make it more suitable for development, while at the same time providing easier beach access through the provision of additional privately owned property, which is about 30 more square meters that were given up by the private landowners to realign the bull cart trail and allow a seamless access to Hagåtña Bay. The process started in 2019, but timely action by the review and regulatory agencies was delayed by the onset of the pandemic. The review of all regulatory agencies was completed and the map brought before the Guam Land Use Commission on January 28, 2021, which approved the map subject to the acknowledgement of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission regarding the realignment of the bull cart trail. CLTC in May 18, 2023 met and again adopted Resolution 2023-01, acknowledging the action of the GOC and approved the relocation of the bill subject to the approval of final approval of the legislature. We are hoping that the legislature will see fit to complete the process and approve the realignment as the landowners are looking forward to moving on the next step to possibly develop the land for future use such as housing and so forth. Again, we thank you again, Madam Speaker, for introducing the bill and to the members of the committee for allowing us to be here to testify in support of the passage of the bill.
Mr. Tadinko. Mr. Well, I'm sorry, can you turn on your microphone? Press that.
Press.
Thank you.
Half of the Madam Speaker and Senator Brown and Senator Shelton. My name is Sensia Tan. We and Dave and I have been working together to introduce and testify this Bill 397-37. Like Dave said, we wanted to consolidate the two properties that I own and straighten the bull cart trail and widen a little bit more to the existing bull cart trail. Like David said on all this, that we have been working on this since 2019. Yeah, so and hopefully that we can go on and how we can proceed with this. So I think with the Chamorro Land Trust, they approved it already, and GLUC, right? GLUC also approved everything already. So we're just waiting for the time for the legislature to finalize all this property for us. So we're hoping that, you can do and help us with me and David on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to testify on this bill? There are several others signed up. Director of Land Management, Mr. Borja, please. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? All right, I'd like to recognize our Legislative Secretary, Senator Amanda Shelton, who's also here with us. Senator. Director Borja.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Joseph Borja, Director of the Department of Land Management. I only have really four issues with the bill. Number one, as you read, the square meter area, there's a little bit of a problem in the format. That has to be corrected. And in two other instances in the bill, I believe they cited the wrong lot number in two other instances. And then the third one, of course, and I see by the map that the beach access is assured, but we hope that beach access doesn't look good on the map, but when you go out there, there's no physical access. And then, of course, the timing on the bill, I believe the legislature, the 37, ends the end of this year, so the timing and the processing is up to you and the committee, but we generally support this bill,
All right.
Speaker.
Ms. Director, can you be specific? Can you go over your points again? And, sorry, one by one, and we'll be specific. There were four of them. One was
the square meter area. I believe it reads almost 270, comma.
Oh, yes.
00
Okay.
or XX,
It should be
whatever.
point.
Yeah, that should be corrected.
All right.
And then I don't have a copy of the bill in front of me, but there are two other instances in the bill where I believe the wrong lot number was included, and that's the R1 and the RW section. I don't have the bill in
Yes, I
front of me.
think you're correct.
Yeah.
Even when I was reading it, I was stumbling over it because, they're inconsistent.
Yeah.
So it should correctly read. Make sure. see these on these copies, but it should say here, 2121-2-R1. That's the triangle lot on the corner that should be consolidated. 2121-2-R1.
And maybe a review might name those lots, maybe right of way. I don't know. That would be up to the owner. And then thirdly was the just the assurance of the beach access, which, like I said, it shows on the map. It looks like a good beach access on the map, but sometimes when you go out to the site, it looks good on the map, but access might not be unfettered. And then the fourth one, Madam Speaker, it's just the timing. That's none of my business. That's the legislature's business.
So,
Okay.
thank you, Mr. Borja. Is there anyone else who'd like to testify on the bill? If not, then we'll open it up for the panel for questions. So, yeah, that was also one of my questions. On the beach access, you said it would be straighter and wider, Mr. V. So, how will it look? How will it look? The beach or the new right-of-way, the new Bull-Cart Trail, the realignment, is that going to be natural, jungle, paved? How is it going to look? Is that actually going to give access to the beach? If you could turn on your microphone. Turn on your microphone, please.
If you don't mind, I'll answer that question, because
Mr. Tadinko?
Senso's property is actually on the opposite side of the north side of that thing. And that property will actually is actually owned by Guam Resorts Inc.
Okay.
And yeah, they are looking at right now. It's actually overgrown jungle right now. There's nothing in there. In fact, the challenge we have had there in the past was that there are homeless people that were staying in there. In fact, there was a big fire about
Earlier part this year.
Earlier part this year, because the people saying the reason we haven't been able to go in there and fence it off and stuff is we wanted to make sure that we know what the property boundaries were approved by the legislature. It is the intent to have that area, though, a natural access to the beach. We'll maintain it as part of on the north side, and then interior, because I think there is discussion about what would be the appropriate development there. We haven't gone down that far yet, because we wanted to make sure we knew what the property boundaries were and what can be done. The next phase would be then to hire an appropriate planning agency, engineers, architects to take a look at it before finally making a decision. But it will, as part of the plan, to make it accessible, as part of, again, making sure that it's aesthetically pleasing, because whatever we develop there will actually open up that area for better access.
Is the Bull-Cart Trail open?
It's, again, overgrown. It's just overgrown with trees and stuff. It's just, again, shown on the map.
Thinking this might be a trail for fishermen to use, but, so, Mr. Tadinko, can you clarify, are you representing someone here?
Yeah, well, actually, again, as I said, I was assisting both Guam Resorts Inc. and Sensio Tan V on helping them navigate the regulatory process. The owner of the property, Guam Resorts Inc., is actually lives in Japan, and so he had asked us, along with Attorney Phil Torres, to help navigate this process.
All right, and so you're saying that Guam Resorts Inc. is planning to maintain this as a beach access, meaning keep it cut? Or
Maintain it, because again, ultimately, whatever they do develop it's actually aligned with the entire north side of the property, and so they would want to make that aesthetically pleasing and accessible.
Yeah, I was going to ask if the planned development, what it was, but you're saying that it's not planned yet?
No, originally they were thinking of actually building an executive home on the lot. It's about 6,000 square meters, just a little under that, and so they were planning to build actually just a private residence in that area. That may change because obviously times have changed. It's really difficult in Japan with the yen rate at almost 154 to the dollar. So they just want to finish the process of getting the property realigned, and then and hopefully the economic issues in Japan relative to the yen-dollar exchange rate improves before they proceed.
Mr. Borja, do you know if they made another or different kinds of development in this area, would they be required to grant beach access like the hotels are required?
If they already have beach access on their map, then, that should suffice. I mean,
All right. Do you, and Mr. Barr, do you agree that with the passage of this bill, the CLT should have no legal problem signing the map? I think that's the only thing waiting right now is a signature.
that's entirely up to the CLTC.
Well, could I ask the CLTC, Mr. Joey Cruz, Acting Director? Is it I see your resolution and it's been passed to the senators that the CLTC concurs, but they have not signed the map. So if you could clarify for us.
That's correct. The map hasn't been signed. With discussing with our attorney, CLTC doesn't have the ability to convey the property.
All right, so do you believe passage of this bill would allow you to sign the map as the acting director?
That, Madam Speaker, I have to discuss with our attorney.
Oh, could you please check right away and get back to me as soon as possible? All right, thank you, because that's the point, right? I guess it's just a signature that's waiting. All right. Vice Chair, Senator Brown.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Certainly good afternoon to all of you. And Mr. Taidenko, I know we've had this discussion before, and I'm sure it's been a bit frustrating and challenging on trying to address what seems to make a lot of reasonable sense in terms of making this property useful. I did want to ask, because we have the map, but where is this property located at?
The property is actually located, where the old Ben Franklin, across the street,
Yeah.
you have, I think there's the Alupang Tower. And there's the, that printing place, Graphic Center.
Yes.
It's right behind that area
I see.
towards the beach.
I see.
Right on Alupang Cove area.
Okay,
So.
okay, I appreciate the clarification, because, while the map gives you an area of the property, it doesn't necessarily point out from what we can see where it's located. I did want to ask the Land Trust, because I see the resolution that was passed just last year, in May of last year, where the Land Trust Commission concurred with this realignment of this bull cart trail. And I do see, Administrator Cruz, you have your position here that the Land Trust has yet to discuss. I guess the current commission has yet to discuss it, but does that invalidate the decision and resolution that was put in place last year? Or is you're simply going to ask the commission to review it once again? What's the status of that?
The written testimony that we submitted that mentions that the board has not had the opportunity to discuss this for Bill 381-37.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to, but you have no current issue moving forward with this aside from getting legal consultation then on your, on the realignment of the bull cart trail?
The board hasn't made any mention of discontinuing their support.
Okay, so as far as you know, there should, aside from getting clarification from your legal counsel, with regards to the action of the legislature to, as I assume we should be able to do it, the legislature granted the Land Trust the land, so we've seen many a day, unfortunately, when the legislature has taken it away, but I think in this particular case, it's really realigning the bull cart trail to make the properties functional for everybody involved. I think it's beneficial. So as far as you're concerned, the Land Trust would have no other issue with regards to the realignment of the bull cart trail?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, that's good. That's one less hurdle to have to jump over. So thank you. I mean, I think unless, aside from that question being addressed by the Land Trust, I don't see any major concern otherwise on realigning the bull cart trail, or any disagreement probably in the legislature to help facilitate that. But thank you for coming and providing your input. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Jesus Masi, Senator Brown, Senator Shelton.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Hafa to everyone. Mr. Taidenko, I know that you mentioned for the Guam Resorts, Inc., you have no immediate development plans. The executive home is on hold at this moment, but Mr. V, did you have any specific development plans for your side of the property?
At this point, no. I just wanted, there is no plan or anything right now, just, a bare land. Just wanted to clean it up because like David said, we are always having problem and we want to fence it up, for homeless because it's always giving the neighbors a problem also.
Okay, so
Yeah.
safety reasons.
For safety reason, yeah.
Okay, understood, thank you. Because as Mr. Borja mentioned, we are up against time, I think, in these final weeks of our term here, and if there is an immediate need or, to understand why we would move this bill in the next couple of days, I hope that we're able to do it, of course, to, help prevent any hazards or another event like a fire on your property, then, I'm very supportive of your bill here.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Just Mossy, Senator Shelton. Could you speak to the timing, how the so the Chamorro Land Trust approved this at a certain time? I'm trying to see your testimony again. But that was after Guam Land Use Commission approval, and you said that this is, they had done this in...
Yeah, the actual meeting date for the GLUC was January 28th, and then they issued the notice of action February 15, 2021.
2021.
Right.
And then you got CLTC approval in June 2023.
In May of 2023.
May 2023.
Right.
All right. All right, we received the reso after that. Okay. All right. Well, appreciate all your testimony. Thank you.
I really appreciate your support. Thank you, Sizamasi.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving again.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. There being no additional testimony, the committee will consider Bill 379-37 CORs duly heard. The time is 2:35 p.m. We'll now move to the second item on our agenda, which is Bill number 381-37 COR, an act to authorize the Department of Land Management or Chamorro Land Trust Commission to exchange 1575 square meters of an existing bull cart trail through lots 5045, 5051B, and 5046B, Municipality of Tamuning, for approximately 15,661 square meters of 60-foot wide public easement through consolidation of lots 5045, 5051B, and 5046B, Municipality of Tamuning, former Municipality of DEDEDO. So again, as a sponsor of the bill, I'm just going to briefly introduce it. So all of these lots are part of ancestral lands in Harmon on the cliff line up above Gun Beach. Is that correct? And they were returned to the government of Guam from the Department of Defense, Secretary of the Navy, and then to the original landowners through the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission. The original bull cart trail goes from Marine Drive directly to the cliff line and is about 1,580 square meters. And note that the bill says 1,575, but I've been corrected afterward that should be 1,580. So instead of 1575, it's 1580 square meters of the existing bull cart trail. The proposal is to create a new 65-foot wide easement through the property because it's being subdivided. And that new easement will also go from Marine Corps Drive to the same spot on the cliff line, or end at the same spot of the cliff line of the existing bull cart trail. And of course, then the existing bull cart trail will be deleted and will be incorporated into the realignment of the properties. So that is the proposal for this property. If I could get that map up, please. Thank you. So the light blue or sky blue line going straight across on the right side of this property, that's Marine Drive. So it goes from Marine Drive, and to the left of this map is the cliff. So it goes directly from Marine Drive to the cliff. So the dark blue thick line is going is the new easement that is being proposed by these families, and it will lead to the same spot on the cliff line. All right, so now I'd like to invite anyone who's interested to please come to testify, and we have several people signed up. All right, we'll begin with Doreen E. Borja. Please state your name for the record before you testify.
Yes, my name is Doreen Eclavia Borja, and I live in Sinajania. Good afternoon, Speaker Terlaje, Senator Amanda Shelton, and Senator Joanne Brown. I hope this message finds you all well. I am writing to respectfully request your support for Bill number 381-37, sponsored by Speaker Therese Terlaje. This bill proposes an exchange that would replace the Bull Cart Trail currently running through my family property with a 60-foot public easement. The exchange involves 1,575 square meters of the existing Bull Cart Trail through lots 5045, 5051B, and 5046B, in exchange for approximately 13,101 square meters of 60-foot wide public easement on the consolidated lots for 5045, 5051B, and 5046B. A brief history of this matter is important to understand the context. Public Law 22-145 states that excess federal properties reacquired by the government of Guam are to be returned to the estate of the original landowner. Additionally, Public Law 25-45 established the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission as the entity responsible for receiving returned excess federal properties to subsequently convey them to the original landowners. A decision and order was issued by the Board of Commissioners of the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission recognizing my grandmother, Ana Minor Eclavea, as the rightful owner of the property in question. She had 8 children, all but one of whom have passed. It is also important to note that the Bull Cart Trail has not been used for more than 90 years. This long period of disuse highlights the need for a more practical solution that benefits both my family and the community. Furthermore, my family is in the process of subdividing the property, and relocating the Bull Cart Trail would significantly facilitate this subdivision, making it easier to divide the land in a way that is beneficial for all parties involved. The proposed exchange would alleviate the impact of the Bull Cart Trail on our property while enhancing public access and safety in the area. I believe this bill represents a fair compromise that serves both private and public interests. Thank you for considering my request. I appreciate your attention to this matter and your ongoing commitment to our community. Sizus Masi, Doreen Borja.
Sizus Masi, Ms. Borja. Julie T. Paris.
Buenas and half a day, Madam Speaker Terlaje, Senator Brown, and Senator Shelton. My name is Julie Paris. I'm from Barrigada, and I'm married to George Eclavea Paris, who is the son of Maria Eclavea Paris, deceased, and one of 8 direct descendants of Ana Minor Eclavea. I appear before the committee this afternoon in support of Bill 381-37, which will realign the Bull Cart Trail and allow an easier way for a family to consolidate the lots for probate distribution and ease of development. On behalf of the family, thank you for the consideration and the passage of this bill. Thank you.
Jesus Masi, Ms. Paris. So George Paris also signed up. Thank you. Hello, Mr. Paris. And then Jesse T. Eclavea, will you be presenting testimony, Jesse? All right. And Ron Eclavea? All right. Christopher Eclavea. Sir? Okay. And Sergeant Eclavea. Okay. Edwin Eclavea. Mr. Eclavea.
Howdy, my name is Edwin Eclavea. Good afternoon, Speaker Terlaje, Senator Shelton, Senator Brown. I'm here today requesting your support for this bill to realign the Bogart Trail to allow my family to be able to partition our property and make it so that we can make best use of the land as we partition it. Without partitioning it, it creates some least desirable lots that are going to be triangular in a shape that is not ideal. I want to clarify a couple of things. Number one, the easement that we are proposing. Well, first of all, the Bogart Trail, as Senator Terlaje pointed out earlier, is 1,500 square meters, 580 square meters. We were looking to propose or to exchange that with 13,101 square meters of an easement that we're proposing to put in as part of this partition. That easement does not connect to Marine Drive. That connects to Route 34, which is the road that goes in towards Two Lovers Point. So if you're driving into Two Lovers Point, there's a straightaway there. That road is called Route 34. This easement that we're proposing to put in will tie into that Route 34.
All right, but on the map, do you have the map?
Yes.
Do you see on the bottom, on the right-hand bottom? Oh, is it just saying that's
To
the,
Marine Corps
that's
Drive.
the
That's
direction to Marine
to
Corps
Marine
Drive?
Corps
So this
Drive.
is Route 44?
Route 34.
34, okay, thank
Route
you.
34 to
All
the
right,
East and Beach
so
Road.
I stand corrected, thank you.
One more thing I'd like to point out on that, on Route 34, there is a 100-foot wide utility easement in that area. And that easement runs through our property. And there has already been some property that has been taken away from us because of that utility. The total area of that utility that runs through our property is 10,172 square meters. So just wanted to point that out as well. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Alfred Borja? All right. Mr. Albert Borja, also in support. All of these names I've read have signed up in support. Danielle, is it Camacho? In support. Lola Leongero, in support. Joseph Borja, Director Borja from Land Management. Would you like to testify?
Madam Chair, Joseph Borja, Director, Department of Land Management. We're aware of a lot of issues about existing and pre-existing easements in that what we call the Harmon Cliffline area. And I believe that the Ancestral Lands Commission should be brought into this conversation because these properties were under the jurisdiction of the Ancestral Lands Commission before they were returned to the original landowners. In those transfer deeds from the federal government to GIDA and subsequently from GIDA to the Ancestral Lands Commission, and then the Ancestral Lands Commission to the private landowners, there are almost always exceptions to the transfer documents, and those exceptions are usually easements in there. Some of the easements might still be hot, some of them might not be used. You have to kind of like look at each of them. But I think in this case, I think the proposed alignment or exchange of it is to allow for the development of the area, thereby aligning the easements through the proper property line. There may be a little bit of a misunderstanding because when you put up the map and you say that that bottom line, the light line, is the connection to Route 1, I believe the map is kind of slanted. North is not the top of that map because I guess the lot was too big to make it straight up north. So if you look at that map, actually that map should be tilted a little bit to the left to show the correct orientation for Route 4, rather Route 1. It's a little confusing. It goes through a triangle area and that, the Route 34. But in general, land management supports corrections, adjustments, and easements for these returned federal excess lands. Of course, for regular easements on private property and those developments, those are under the GLUC. But in this particular case, at one time, the GALC had jurisdiction over it, and of course now Bull Cart Trails are Chamorro Land Trust issues. But land management, of course, would be glad to assist to solve this problem if we are required to do so. Thank you. There, Madam Chair, just on the bills, we note that there were no legislative findings of the bill. We note that there was no legislative intent on the bill. We know that there's no severability clause in the bill, so I think if you put that in there, that it might help improve the understanding of the one-page, one-sentence bill now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Borja. Are there technical issues with the easement that is being proposed? I know this map will be subject to approval by the Department of Land Management.
By the survey division. I'm not a registered land surveyor. I can't tell you if there might be any potential problems. Just on planning purposes, it looks like a good idea, the way that they have that set up to correct the situation of the Bull Cart Trail. But insofar as technical clearance, survey, professional protocols, I really don't have that. That would be the chief surveyor who's off island right now, Madam Chair.
All right, and can you just clarify, is there anyone from Ancestral Lands here? I don't see, oh, we do have the chair. What role do you believe Ancestral Lands still has in this property?
Well, these properties, I don't know if they still have any jurisdiction on it, but they're the conduit that passes this property from returned federal excess lands to private property. But in those transfer deeds from the federal government, that eventually ends up, that property ending up finally, eventually in private ownership hands. In most of those deeds, if not all of them, there are exceptions added to those deeds, exhibits in the end there about easements that the military doesn't want to give up. For example, in Tizan, when Tizan was returned, South Tizan, the Barrigada side, they actually reserved Mariner Avenue and Corsair Avenue for future access to those areas. I'm not too familiar with all of the easements over in Harmon Cliffline. It's a large tract, and there are numerous easements in that area.
All right, so the question is whether the deed that transferred from Ancestral Lands to this private property owners, whether that deed reserved the Bull Cart Trail as access, right? And that we are, if that was the case, are we not?
I don't think the military would have reserved that Bull Cart Trail. The existence of that Bull Cart Trail is found on maps previous through the taking. So, but it is on a map, and at one time the Ancestral Lands Commission has that, but it just should be a regular part of their review, that when they transfer properties to original landowners, the properties that they receive, that they are aware of any easements that may have been reserved by the federal government for that area.
All right, well, obviously, the family's here because the Bull Cart Trail is recognized by the family, by everybody, and they want to realign that. So I'm trying to figure out how ancestral land's involvement is going to help us at this point, but it seems like we need someone who can approve the
I don't know that
realignment
it would help
of
us.
the
It
Bull
might,
Cart Trail.
I don't know that it will help us. It might confuse the situation more, but I'm just letting the legislature know that in certain parcels returned, certain easements were reserved. On this particular one, I don't think so, but I can't say for sure. That's where the ancestral lands would come in and review the deed that they received from the federal government. Were there any issues? Because when they returned it back, they didn't return it back as lot 5051, 5046, and whatever the third one is. They returned it back as Harmon Cliff Line Parcel A or something like that. You know?
All right.
But we are in support of the bill, Madam
All
Speaker.
right, thank you. Mr. Eklevea, did you want to testify?
I'd just like to echo.
Sorry, Ron Eklevea.
I'm sorry, yeah, my name is Ron Eklevea. I'm the chairman of the Ancestral Lands Commission. Buenas, Speaker, Senators. I am in support of the bill. However, the director is definitely spot on with the, when the return of the lands came back to the government. Guam, the transfer had stipulations regarding easements and roads that have to be maintained. So with regard to the Bull Cart Trail, I'm not sure if that blankets the Bull Cart Trail, but according to the director, maybe it did. We'd have to look into that and see. But he is, there is a particular piece of property like across from the Micronesian Mall. I know that they had radar easements that were also part of that and part of the stipulations that they were maintained. But I believe we were successful in removing the radar. So, and I don't believe we have any restrictions on the property right now, but he's right, ancestral lands will have to look in and confirm that.
Well, when the department, when this map is submitted to the DLM, what will happen? Is DLM Surveying Division going to confirm whether they can, whether this Bull Cart Trail was reserved
It
or
would
not?
be up to the private surveyor doing this private survey. He has the responsibility to research any document that may have an effect on the map.
Okay. All right. So as long as all the family are hearing that. All right. We also have to testify Mr. Joey Cruz, Acting Administrative Director of CLTC.
Good afternoon, Speaker, Senator Shelton, and Senator Brown. My name is Joey Cruz, the Acting Administrative Director for the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. This is not in support of or against, it's more information. The CLTC Board has yet to have the opportunity to discuss Bill 381-37. We would like to request the CLTC Board be allowed to provide their comments at a later date. I know that this public hearing is regarding Bill 381-37, but I just wanted to inform you, Speaker, that the Bill 379-37 will allow CLTC to sign the map.
Oh, thank you. So you received confirmation from the lawyer. This is Swasi. Okay. Acting Director. And anyone else to testify on this bill? Mr. Edwin Eklevea.
Speaker Terlaje, a couple of things. Okay, one, prior to seeking the legislative approval, our surveyor did present these maps to Department of Land Management, et cetera, for approval. I believe it has to go through CLTC, et cetera. Once the legislature approves the exchange of the Bull Cart Trail, The intent is to go back and have the surveyor continue pursuit of the partition, which will require them to go to the Department of Land Management, the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, et cetera, to get the approvals in place to partition the property. Prior to this meeting, we did meet with Mr. Joey Cruz from CLTC to discuss what we're planning here. And one of the biggest hurdles that we had was, I mean, in the end, it's going to need legislative approval to do anything with the Bullcart Trail, right? So when the opportunity came up for us to present this and be able to get the, for you to present the bill to do the exchange, so we took it. We didn't have the time to go through that complete process with the Department of Land Management to get the approvals prior. I think typically you would go through that process, get them to approve it, present it to Chamorro Land Trust Commission, for example. They would present it to their board in support of what we're trying to do here, and then try to get the legislative approval. But it's just the timing and the way and the opportunity that, you know, when this came out for us to be able to support the bill. So it is planned that you know, once this is approved, that we will go back and continue pursuit with the get the approvals with Department of Land Management, CLTC, et cetera.
All right. Is there anyone else to testify? Oh, sorry. Sir, what's your name?
Edward Eclavea Leon Guerrero. I'm a descendant of a landowner.
Did you sign in?
Yes.
Just 1 second. All right. Please proceed.
Yes.
Can you please restate your name? I just can't find it on the list.
Yes, Edward Eclavea Leon Guerrero. Okay. Yeah, so first of all, let me just say happy Thanksgiving to Speaker Terlaje, Senator Brown, and Senator Shelton. So I'm here to express tremendous support for Bill number 381-37, an act to authorize the Department of Land Management or Chamorro Land Trust Commission to exchange 1575, or as was correct on the record, 1580 square meters of an existing bull cart trail through lots 5045, 5051B, and 5046B, Municipality of Tamuning, for approximately 15,661 square meters of 60 feet wide public easement through consolidated lots 5045, 551B, and 5046B, Municipality of Tamuning. So as a descendant of the heirs to the property affected by this proposed legislation, my family and I fully endorse this initiative for several reasons. First and foremost, the exchange of land as proposed in this bill is a practical solution that benefits both the public and the private landowners by authorizing the Department of Land Management or the Chamorro Land Trust Commission to facilitate this exchange. We ensure that public access is maintained and even enhanced through the creation of a wider public easement. This improvement not only respects the historical significance of the bull cart trail, but also adapts to the contemporary needs of our community. Secondly, this bill promotes better land utilization and development. The consolidation of lots and the establishment of a 60-foot wide public easement allow for more efficient land management and potential development projects that can enhance the economic and social well-being of the area. It provides a clearer and more structured approach to land use, which can attract investments and improve infrastructure. Additionally, this legislative measure acknowledges and honors the cultural heritage of the Chamorro people. The careful consideration given to the alignment and use of the land ensures our traditions and history are respected while we make progress towards modern developments. In conclusion, Bill number 381-37 is a thoughtfully crafted piece of legislation that addresses current land management challenges and lays the groundwork for future development that benefits all stakeholders. I urge you and your fellow legislators to vote in favor of this bill, recognizing its potential to contribute positively to our community. Seduce Masi for your attention to this matter. I'm confident that with your support, Bill number 381-37 will bring significant and lasting benefits to our community.
See Mr. Leon Guerrero. All right. Is there anyone else who would like to testify on this bill?
Madam Chair, if I can, if
Mr.
might be allowed,
Director Borja. Yes.
might be allowed to present something. You know, the bill is supposed to authorize a land exchange for the Bucart Trail. The Bucart Trail seemingly to belong to the Chamorro Land Trust Commission now, and the proposed 60-foot easement is now in private hands. However, if those private landowners are to create a subdivision in there, the subdivision law would require them to have an easement anyway. And then if we do the exchange now, then that easement is going to belong to Chamorro Land Trust. They're going to own a easement in a private subdivision, and that easement is supposed to be public, so it might be problematic in that sense for the Chamorro Land Trust.
Do you have any suggestions?
Leave the land trust
Because
out of it, give it to the public.
Pardon?
Leave the land trust out of it, give that public 60-foot access easement to the public.
Right, well, that's what they're proposing to do, but then, but it seems like we still need Chamorro Land
yeah.
Trust involvement.
Well, because Bucart Trails are Chamorro Land Trust, but I don't know if you can do it by legislation, just leave them out of it.
I have a question real quick.
I'm confused, Director Borja. Please, what do you mean you're not sure you can do it by legislation?
Well, no, I mean, you can do it by legislation, you know, whatever the legislature pleases and the governor signs into law. But I'm just saying that it might be problematic for the Chamorro Land Trust to own that easement in a
But it's
private
also,
subdivision.
isn't it also problematic for the Department of Land Management to approve this map? I think that's a problem the family's been having. They can't get a map approved that would wipe out the Bucart Trail without legislature involvement, and they want to, they want to dedicate the 60-foot wide public easement. So we're trying to help them to do that.
And I agree with that. The problem is, you know, I don't know, does the land trust own any easement in any private subdivision at this time? I mean, what would they do with the easement? What would the land trust do with it? Close it? Charge? That's just what I'm saying, that, you know, the ownership of that easement, which is what it seems to be, a land exchange, I mean, that might be problematic for the land trust to own it. I'd say just never mind giving the land trust that easement. Give it to the public.
Yeah.
Which would be required of the subdivision.
Right, so they're required to give the easement, which they're willing to do, but they can't take away the Bucart Trail without, and the Chamorro Land Trust position is that they cannot give away a Bucart Trail, and they can't sell a Bucart Trail either without legislative approval.
But
So
they can exchange it?
not without legislative approval either, because that's why we're here.
But
So,
what would you do? What would the land trust do with that easement?
no, I agree with
Yeah,
you. Maybe they don't need the whole easement, but what other solution is there to divide it up or something like that? But then they would have an incomplete trail, right? So, I mean, because this issue would be the same for perhaps
Other Bucart Trail issues.
other
yeah,
issues,
yeah.
yes. So what would you propose?
On this particular case,
Mm-hmm.
I take the Bucart Trail away from the land trust and give it to the owners. You know, this Bucart Trail issue is usually the property originally belonged in whole to that original landowner. And then somebody started passing through it with a Bucart, and it eventually became a Bucart Trail. But if you don't need the Bucart Trail anymore, return it back to the original landowner. If it's not needed for public access, return it back to the original landowner. If you don't need it anymore.
Wasn't it part of the legislation that you helped write to make sure that
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the CLTC is going to benefit from the boat cart trails. So we're just trying to ensure that all of these existing laws act together by, so I recognize maybe some additional language is needed pending CLTC's input. But, all right.
I just don't want the land trust to come back years from now and start charging the Eclevea family. But it is a good effort, Madam Speaker, to straighten out these easement issues, especially on these returned federal excess lands. And we have quite a bit of them.
Yes, so we're trying, and one of the questions is about timing, and this is something that's actually been requested for a long time. It's my understanding that this was in the court, and the court was waiting for a subdivision map, which could not be finalized because the boat cart trail was not allowing like a kind of ideal subdivision with all the different heirs and parties that were involved. And so that removing the boat cart trail is going to allow that subdivision to go forward and accommodate all the different interests that are involved in this property that was handed back to ancestral landowners. All of it is complex, and there are many moving parts. Can you please tell me, Mr. Edwin Eclevea, the status of this property in the court? Is it done? Is that, or are they going to also look at this map?
The intent, Madam Speaker, is once we have the approval from the Department of Land Management to petition the property, get all the approvals from COTC, et cetera, then we will present it back to the court for final approval and distribution of the property.
All right. We had discussed is that the only thing pending in the court? The final maps?
Right now, yes.
All right, and how long have the families been waiting for this?
Years, Madam Speaker, years.
Since the return of the property.
Right, so that's my understanding too. So, and I tried to work on this, but it's complex, so I had to put it aside several times trying to get this done. I promise that I have actually several issues of boat cart trails that I've told people I would try to get them all done at the same time, but some of them were more complex than this one because this one at least has a very clear subdivision map and seems like a fair deal. I mean, now that, you know, pending CLTC's input, but.
Madam Chair, if I might
yes.
add, you know, the maps that go to the court are really not the subdivision maps, really. They're really the court distribution maps. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I know. That's why I was told this was urgent and that, yeah. So, you know, Mr. Director Borja, yeah.
You know, it seems like you allow for the pushing maybe aside of the land trust because in the caption you put Chamorro Land Trust or Department of Land Management.
In the title, yes. The reason I did that was because of, yeah, I wasn't sure whether we needed both. So even if CLTC agrees that it was the Department of Land Management that was going to take ownership of the big easement. No, the easement itself, right? Because it's a public dedicated easement. So that's why I put both. I thought the two of you could work that out. Is it, remember we discussed, Director Borja, the CLTC was authorized by law to sell boat cart trails and that they would take the proceeds into their surveying revolving fund. They told me they've never really utilized that law. Is that correct? So he's saying that's correct, and that they will not use that law without legislative approval. So I'm open to any other suggestions. Otherwise, yeah, I guess what Director Borja is suggesting is that, as written, if the 60-foot wide easement is exchanged with Chamorro Land Trust, it becomes a Chamorro Land Trust easement, but the bill says it will become a 60-foot wide public easement, and we need to ensure the language makes it a public easement, because that's the intent of the maps and the subdivision and the access itself.
So,
Mr.
Madam
Director,
Speaker, I have a question real quick regarding.
Ron Eclevea.
Okay, regarding just what you brought up with the public easement, and I concur with the director that it should be public, but would that would still alleviate the bull cart trail, so that means CLTC would give up that bull cart trail, correct? They will still give up the bull cart trail. If I understand the director completely, that's what he's saying. Basically, we should just make it complete public access as opposed to CLTC involvement in it, but they gave up the bull cart trail. Would that set precedents? Has that been done before?
They have not given up the bull cart trail. We were trying to get them to get some value as well. So that's what the Director of Land Management is suggesting, that we have to just exclude the CLTC from getting any benefit and take it as public.
Okay, so how?
Bull cart trail and exchange it.
But that would eliminate the bull cart trail still, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what's their benefit in that particular sense there?
Pardon me.
What was their CLTC's benefit?
Well, right now, by law, they're supposed to benefit from bull cart trails.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
if we took what the director said and just go ahead and just leave CLTC out of it and make it a public, I guess.
Of course, if you leave CLTC out of it, it's easy. That's why this is complex.
So he's talking about the bull cart trail itself, right? He's talking about the bull cart trail itself, not the 60-foot wide. Because I was thinking he was saying the 60-foot wide.
No, that's correct. So, Acting Administrator Cruz from CLTC. Has the CLTC ever closed bull cart trails? Do you take possession of those and close them off to the public, or how do you treat them?
To my knowledge, we have not closed bull cart trails.
I've never heard of it either. In fact, it's a weird thing. It was a law done prior to us, by previous legislatures, that gave all the bull cart trails to CLTC, and if they were sold, the CLTC would get the proceeds. If there was going to be a land exchange, they would get land in exchange for giving those up. All right. Any other questions? Senator Brown.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I certainly appreciate the desire of any family to try to get land issues resolved. If you inherit land, get it back on Guam. I know of having my own share, it's a challenge, and I know there's a need for resolution because as time goes on with each generation, not everybody remembers or knows. And so, we want to be able to get those issues resolved. I just want to know visually, again, I mean, the little area map here is so micro, even I can't read it. But if I'm going into Two Lovers Point from Marine Drive, is this properly located to the left or to the right if I'm heading towards Two Lovers Point? Just in my mind visually so I can get an understanding of.
It's on the left as you're driving in from Marine Corps Drive.
Okay.
There's two access ways, one across the Micronesia Mall and then one across Wendy's.
Okay.
So if you take the one across Wendy's, it comes up and it comes up to a Y. Then you make a left. When you make a left, there's a straightaway.
Okay.
On the left-hand side of the road as you're heading in towards Two Lovers, that's where the property is located.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. You mentioned earlier that the easement, the main road going in, that some parts of that easement extend into this property. Was that, I assume, was done by the federal government prior to the land being turned over?
Yes, there's a 100-foot wide utility easement that's there. My understanding was grandfathered, so when the properties were returned, those properties were held by the federal government, and the rest of the property was returned to the government of Guam. So that's what Senator Mr. Lai was talking about earlier.
Okay, so that's where we're not looking at any issues then with regards to
That
that?
is
That's
not
already been
being touched.
resolved?
That will
of
remain
the-
in place. There's
of the
no intent
easement.
to, we're not trying to change any of that.
I appreciate that. You know, in the subdivision of property, we recognize, especially larger parcels, I mean, if we're subdividing it, we're going to have to dedicate a certain portion of that property for easement anyway. I think all of us that have had to deal with these land issues, inherited land, have that challenge. But I agree with the speaker, the challenge of us looking at what do we do and how do we address the ownership of the land trust with this 1,500 plus square meters. That's about a lot size. I mean, you could probably build a single-family home on it. And my concern with us just simply, I appreciate the recommendation by the Director of Land Management, but at the same time, I don't want to set a precedent that we simply just close the land trust out. As much as I've been critical of the history of the land trust, I know Administrator Cruz knows that it's been a very colorful history. If we're actually going to live up to what the original intent of the land trust was, we need to respect that process. And how do we ensure some benefit back to the land trust? I understand by the map that's being proposed the benefits of removing it from your property so that you can properly subdivide lots and give them out to your family that is usable. But I'm also of the position that there should be some type of compensation to the land trust so that they're square, you're square, and everybody can move on. And the speaker had mentioned there's a process under which the land trust may be able to sell the bull cart trail so that, in the future you have no issues. And you have no issues if you dedicate this easement to them, that they have a say. I'm sure you want to make sure that once you put this easement in, the properties are subdivided, then everybody can move on with their life and not have to have any issues from the past come in. And maybe that needs to be an avenue that can be looked at so that all parties are whole, and then everybody can move forward. Because as much as I've been critical of the land trust, if we're actually going to implement the true intention, I'm very concerned. I'm even very concerned when the legislature comes in and just starts chopping away at land trust property and gives them nothing. So, well, it's public value, but the land trust itself receives nothing, and all we do over time is we keep chipping away and chipping away and chipping away at their property with no compensation and no benefits to the recipients, of course, that originally was the whole reason that the land trust was created in the first place. So, I mean, ultimately, we look forward, Administrator Cruz, to the land trust coming back with a recommendation. I'm hopeful that there's a way that, without taking a few more years down the road, if maybe that might be a viable solution, if the family could purchase the bull cart trail of this 15 plus 1,500 plus square meters and maybe just totally resolve it and everything moves forward, clean. And then the family can move forward and subdivide their property and properly distribute it to their family members, and we can all move on. And yet the land trust is not left out in the cold, which I would hate to see, because if we start setting that precedent, we all know I have inherited land where I have a bull cart trail to deal with. When I grew up, I didn't even know what that meant. It was out in the jungle, and they said, oh, this is bull cart trail. Oh, okay, there's nothing out here, but once upon a time, many years ago, that was the, road had gone through there that's where the access was for coming into and out of our property. So that's my view on this. I understand the family's needs, certainly after all these years, and even waiting for the return of the land from the federal government, to want to get this land back and be able to properly distribute it to your family members that, of course, rightfully should inherit it. So other than that, if I'm hoping that the land trust can come up with a favorable resolution with you so that you can all move forward. But thank you. I appreciate all of you coming in, providing your insight and your testimony this afternoon. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Senator Brown. Senator Shelton.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you to everyone who's here today to testify on the bill, the agencies as well as the family members who are here. Obviously, you can tell by the amount of people here, and if there are 8 children of the original landowner, I'm sure there are dozens more grandchildren, great-grandchildren, who have an interest here in this property and accessing it. And so I thank you, Madam Speaker, for trying to find a resolution to this situation. As was mentioned, they've pretty much exhausted every other option, and having to come to the legislature for this action, we hope that we can help you in these next coming weeks and act on it during this session. So you have my support. Thank you.
Yes, Ms.
Doreen Boer. I just want to comment after listening to Director Joe Borja that he had indicated that the Bucart Trail had originally belonged to the family. And then now it's in the Guam Land Use Commission is responsible for the Bucart Trail. Now, my thinking on that line the whole time was, why did it belong to us and then get taken away? And in all these years, we've been paying for the real property tax. So is the Land Use Commission responsible for that size of property of the Bucart Trail, that they should have an input in paying for that real property tax as well? That's my question.
Thank you, Ms. Borja. Mr. Joe Borja, Director, are the landowners paying property tax on Bucart Trails?
I don't know. You have to check on the square meter area that you have, but I believe generally, yes. Unless they're severed, yes.
All right.
In this particular case, I really don't know. But generally, yes. They pay for the taxes on the Bucart Trail, the square meters.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to add something else real quick.
Ron Eclavea.
Regarding the Bucart Trail, this is of significance. This is right where it starts. That's the cliff line part. And then it goes down the hill. And it actually starts in front of the Lotte Hotel, the former Okuru Hotel. That Bucart Trail starts from there. And then it goes up.
It goes to the ocean, right?
Well, we know that it's in front. I don't know if it goes straight to the ocean, probably does, but it starts from the
Lotte Hotel.
And it kind of snakes up the side of the mountain, and it ends up right to this point, where you're saying.
To the cliff line.
Yes. So if for some reason that was eliminated, the Bucart Trail will end right there. It'll end right there. Whereas this one, the Bucart connects all the way up to the main road.
Mm-hmm.
That's just of note.
Right. Yeah. I think previous legislatures recognized that we want to preserve Bucart trails, and they went through great extents to do that because they were traditional access for fishermen to the ocean. They were access, traversing across the island for exchange of products, different things, and they have cultural value as well. So I'm not in favor of eliminating all the Bucart trails. I think there is a way to solve this issue for, and so all these Bucart trails have been done on a pretty much case-by-case basis because of this, because, we want to make sure in the legislature side that what value, that we don't exclude people from access that are using this for access. In this case, the testimony was that no one is using this for access for many years now. That might be true. And I think it's good that the family is allowing this public easement to go all the way there. They've gone through great extent to make sure that it ends at the same place that the Bucart Trail ended, so that access or Bucart traditional trail is not completely eliminated. So that's why I like that type of compromise, right? And if we can find a way to just resolve all the other issues and technically get this done, then I'd like to see that done, because we have many other cases that I've been looking at that are even more complex than this. So this one, I feel like we can resolve. It should be resolved. And if DLM likes that map, then we should find a way to resolve it. And if CLTC does not find this property to be usable for residential leases, it's a Bucart trail, it's limited in width, it's not usable. If it's not usable for, then they're limited in their use as well, which is why previous legislatures before us allowed the sale of these Bucart trails if they get value or if they got land in exchange. So we're just going to try to work this out in that way. And as Senator Shelton said, in these cases have been waiting for a long time. There are many others. We just have to do them as fairly as we can on a one-by-one basis so that we can make sure that everybody's being treated fairly and getting value. All right, so there's some corrections to this bill. Again, the area square meters for the existing trail is 1,580 square meters. The approximate square meters of the public easement will be 13,101, not 15,661. So that will also be corrected.
Plus or minus, sorry, this is Edwin Ecleve.
Sorry?
Plus or minus 13,101 square meters?
101, yes, correct. I'm going to correct that as well. And we may attach the maps, which is Scheme B. We are going to correct or somehow resolve the CLTC. In the title, it says DLM or CLTC because I wasn't sure how to actually resolve this, and I was looking forward to the testimony. So now I think we'll try to find a way to do this. And I'm corrected verbally when I said this book cart trail connects to Marine Drive. It connects to Route 34, which is a 100-foot wide utility easement that runs through the original property. All right. All right, I want to thank all the families who are here, all the representatives, and all the department agencies who've come to testify in support of this bill, and we'll do our best. Sizus Masi. Thank you. So that will conclude the hearing on this bill, 381. It's now 3:30 p.m. Sizus Masi. Very